Hello, internet. No makeup. Just wash my hair. Well, washing my hair because of my braids is such an ordeal. It'll take, it probably won't even be dry by tonight, by the time I go to bed. Anyway, I've done it, and I just couldn't be bothered to put makeup on. I've had a really weird day. So I was asking Grok about, my business model with my OF site. And basically it was saying I can't link my OF site, even though it's an artist site, and nothing to do with salaciousness. Well, I don't know if I can say that, actually. I don't think that's true. Nothing to do with... Let me think of a word that I can use for the algorithms. I actually can't. Nothing to do with the most... Nothing to do with having to be over 65 to watch it. Does that make sense? It's nothing like that. For a start, it's AI generated, right? My OF character is OF generated, and the of course it's based on me, but it's magnified by AI. I've completely and utterly created this fantasy character. So that's weirded me out a little, and I do consider it an artwork. And the other thing is the books and novels that I'm writing, they're literature. And you can't tell me that talking about something that's so human, about human connection and about love and lust. Yeah, it's lust, but there's not one of us amongst us who hasn't experienced lust. And being gagged like that is just freaking me out. Anyway, it was sort of trying to explain to me that basically it's about the link. So I can't link anything with not safe for work content in it on any of my social media. So Instagram can close down all my accounts. I've got loads of accounts. I must have about 10 different Instagram accounts. I've probably got about 20 YouTube channels. I can't link anything, even, right, get this, to my website if there is a link to my other site on the website. So if they suspect any type of funneling, bang, they can close your YouTubes down, or your Instagrams, or your Facebook. Now, essentially, none of my socials have ever made me a penny. I don't know why I bother, actually, because they've never made me any money. They've been an absolute pain in the proverbial to update so constantly, to stay relevant, to do all these things they kind of make you do. And I do wonder that my Grok said you need to consider the ROI, which I had to look up, which is return on investment. Now, I haven't invested any money over the last 20 years in my YouTube, on my YouTube. I've had a YouTube account for, is it 20 years? I think it's 2009, I think, started. So it's not far off it, is it? It's not far off 20 years. And I do wonder, has it benefited my creativity, my brand, my... I've always made dodgy. When I say dodgy, I mean the definition's a bit dodgy, and I know that. But then art is, and then I said to Grok, well, what about my nude art? Because I've done a lot of nude art, and I've done loads of photography, documentary photography on the fetish scene. I've done absolutely tons of it as an artistic endeavour. I've put on exhibitions celebrating the feminist cause, celebrating the feminist body, the female body. I've done projects with trans people in sexualized photography as an artwork, and basically Grok said, no, you don't have any of that on your site if you want to link it to any of your socials. And I thought, what even, and what about a new drawing? I said, no, don't take it off. So what? I mean, where that's but that's only if I link my own personal bio site, the site that tells everybody who I am, what I do, when I do it, how I do it, what it's about, the emotion behind the activity, when I was born, what I've done, what the universities I've been to, the qualifications I've got, all of that. But if you've got one link anywhere on 30 pages, and any of these socials find out, if it's one link, even if it's a link to my Twitter, which is linking to my OF, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So anyway, I'm taking my links off the OF everywhere. I'm not going to link that. Maybe my TikTok will get closed down soon. I don't know. But you just sort of wonder, 700 people apparently see my videos on average. And you do kind of think, is there any point in them seeing my videos on TikTok if they're not, going to see who I really am as an artist and the work that I do and all the other, the films that I've made and all these really interesting projects that I'm involved with? Is there any point in doing any social media at all? Anyway, I set up my Twitter, my new Twitter, which is linked because Twitter apparently does not give a flying F where you link to. So I set up my Twitter, and I have been working religiously on my Twitter account for Telltale Club Press since about 2020. And I've really struggled to get followers. I've got about 1,200 followers. They've taken, I mean, I don't make any new ones on average. When I got my first tick, I made a few. But ever since then, I've made none. So it's been static at 1,200 for probably about 4 years or something ridiculous. Or more, actually. I seem to have always had that amount. It's about the same amount I've got on YouTube. It's an identical amount, actually. I've just realised that. It's about 1,200. So, no amount of anything I do gets me more followers. The thing that's good about followers is when you put up a new video or a new post, all of your followers are informed. So that's a good thing about followers, right? Anyway, I've set up this new Twitter, which does link to the Not Safe for Work site. And I've just got loads of messages, loads of followers. Well, loads, about 10, I think. And you just think, bloody hell. I mean, I didn't do anything. I have done nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm annoyed because that's what's wrong with the world. Why? When it's not even my work, when it's not even the truth, when it's really interesting because some of the characters that I've created as a performance artist have become more engaging than the artist who created them, than me. And it really annoys me. I get really upset about it. And after a bit, I think, well, what about me? What about me? The little me inside the artwork, no interest whatsoever. Nobody can give two hoots about anything I do unless it's somehow submerged in a ridiculous performance character that is completely and utterly fake. I mean, what does that say about the world? The world is messed up, man. Just messed up. I don't know what we're going to do about it. I really don't.